Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Today is March 24th, 2026, for our first Land Use and Sustainability Committee meeting this year. I'm joined by Commissioner Fernandez and Commissioner Bott. Before I'd like to proceed with our city attorney, I'd like to make any announcements.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to read the Zoom information for the public. Today's meeting of the Land Use and Sustainability Committee will be conducted in a hybrid format. To participate virtually, the public may dial 1-888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID, which is 8505-9923-037#, or log into the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 9923037. Anyone wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon in the Zoom app or dial *9 if you're participating by phone.
Thank you. Tom, are there any changes to the agenda today?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's three. Item number 2, regarding the creation of a transfer of development rights program for Washington Avenue, is being deferred to a future date. And item number 15, regarding the Live Better program, is being deferred to a future date. And then lastly, item number 11, regarding the North Beach Water Quality and Park View Canal Report, is being deferred to next Wednesday, April 1st, 2026.
Okay. Is there a motion to set the agenda as amended?
So moved as amended.
I second. Can we set by acclamation?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, so we got some people here waiting in the audience. I don't want to keep them too long. Miriam, for the Maurice Gibb Park, I think that is item number 10. I'd like to call that.
Okay. Item number 10 is discuss possible procurement of a new monument sign for Maurice Gibb Memorial Park.
Go ahead.
Good morning, David Gomez, Director of Capital Improvements. During the process of renovating the Maurice Gibb Park, which was completed in April of last year, we did restore an existing monument sign. What we've looked into is that adding an additional monument sign without even a conceptual at this point, it's very hard to determine a cost and of course, related timelines. But we're at the committee's disposal and we're ready to move forward with whatever the committee decides.
Commissioner Fernandez? Ready? I don't know if you-
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an item I've placed on the agenda at the request of the neighbors of the Sunset Harbor Association. And in fact, it's in celebration of the beautiful work that was done with the completion of this park, which is truly a masterpiece and such a great amenity for our city and the neighbors. You know, what's unfortunate is that with this new park, you know, we kept the existing monument sign, and it was a desire of the neighbors to have something that would meet the caliber, something that would meet the style of the new park, and while maintaining obviously the musical theme that's involved here. You know, I don't think it's an onerous request. I believe that, you know, coming up with a conceptual design is something that our city administration, whether it be CIP or parks, could certainly do with our residents, and come back with a proposal on something that would be not too expensive, but that would elevate the park, especially the signage, to the standards of the rest of the improvements made there.
Through the chair.
Sure.
I love this idea. There's no reason why we shouldn't have an equally elevated welcome sign to introduce people to the park. I would suggest, given the budget realities we're facing, that we go in with a fixed amount and say not more than, let's say, $75,000. And if somebody comes back with an idea that is so spectacular that we really can't live without it, then we have that discussion. But if you go in saying it's going to be between 100 and 200, you know that it's going to cost 200. Yeah. So let's keep it tight. See, I mean, because you can be really creative, not you. One can be, I mean, you can also be creative. Oh, man. Anyhow, one can be really creative with a limited amount of budget, and I would like us to have something really creative and beautiful, but not spend a huge amount of money to do it, because the reality
My one question, are we looking at a second sign or a replacement of the existing?
I would imagine.
The reason I ask is the infrastructure's there, it could be a little more cost-effective to replace.
I think just a
Perhaps.
replacement.
Yeah, perhaps through the chair, we have residents here from the from the Sunset Harbor Neighborhood Association. Perhaps we could recognize Marilyn, who could speak as to what is the desire and the vision of the neighbors who live in the area.
I Good morning. Thank you for taking this item. When the park was originally conceptualized, we had some funds for a new monument. And it is my understanding that those funds were taken away from the park to use somewhere else because the people who did that deemed that we had such beautiful playground equipment that we really didn't need a nice monument, to acknowledge the park, which to me makes absolutely no sense. It's like having a gorgeous Armani suit with Walmart shoes. That's what is happening there. So the little monument that we have looks exactly like a tombstone. I mean, one of my grandchildren asked me if Maurice Gibb was buried there, and I had to say, no, darling, he's not buried there. It's just, it looks like a tombstone, but it isn't. So we really need to get rid of that little thing and do something more emblematic. And of
Thank you,
course,
Marilyn.
keeping the music, the musical theme. We live, not part of the time, but a lot of time up in Cleveland, where, there's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the city has guitars, for example, all over the city. And some of those guitars, monuments, are works of art. I mean, they are gorgeous. So something around those vein, to put in the entrance where the little tombstone is now, acknowledging that this is our park.
Thank you.
At one point, we thought we will take a problem off your hands. May I? Hello?
Sure, go ahead.
We will take a problem off your hand with the Sunshine Boys that is on 41st Street, because that poor little thing is behind that huge FP&L column, and it deserves.
Okay, so David, she brings up a good point. Was there money dedicated to the,
Not for a monument sign, no. The money that I believe she's referring to is an arts and public places dedication, but that's not dedicated to the project itself.
okay, do we have any idea where this possible monument sign would be placed on the park?
From what I'm hearing, replacing the existing
It's the-
location,
the
so
lead-
remove the existing and place the monument sign there. Is that correct?
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
tombstone?
And if you have no place to put that Sunshine Boy, we'll take it. We'll take it. It's
So-
gorgeous.
So let me just ask something. David, do you feel that with, if we say, design something, that you can design, that you could do the project, including the site work and all the other soft costs, within a budget of $100,000? Is that something that you feel is reasonable that we could ask the finance committee to consider?
Yeah, what comes to mind is the adage, you get what you pay for. In the case of, I forgot the name of it, Sunshine Boy?
It's the Star
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 Child.
Child, I'm sorry.
We call it the Sunshine Boy.
Or,
But that is the location of that statue. And
Correct,
we
and-
have assigned funds to move the FPL pole. Like, it was all negotiated in the contract initially, so that's staying where it is. And the
And I-
FPL pole is
I need
coming
to
down
know-
at some point.
We need to know why that pole is still there. Yeah, I want the report on my desk by the end of the week on that.
so where I was headed is if we're looking at something that level in terms of an arts and public places piece, $100,000 is a drop in the bucket to what it could cost.
So, but let me ask you this, and perhaps our planning director might have more knowledge. Is there any new projects anticipated in the Sunset Harbor area, that area west of Alton Road, that perhaps, if we have a conceptual design, this could perhaps be a public benefit that could be considered as part of a project?
There's no applications that I'm aware of that are seeking code amendments. These would just be as-of-right projects that are seeking design review board approval.
Okay.
We'd rather not have it as an art in public places, because that really complicates things.
So we
Mr.
can-
Chairman, we have two callers on Zoom when you're ready.
We can what?
we can come back with a proposal and see what kind of concept our consultant can come up with and put it before the committee and see if that's something in line with what the community and the committee are seeing.
Okay, you want to?
If I may, through the chair, I would just suggest that, taking as a benchmark this Star Child that you love, that we all love, the park itself is the stunning art, right? I think what we should aim for is something that complements and is additive, that doesn't detract from the impact of when you walk through that park.
Right.
Because that's really an expensive park with incredibly well-imagined and executed space. And so, to me, the welcome should be not a memorial pedestal, but should be something that ushers you in, but doesn't detract from the impact of the park. So
Absolutely.
the Star Child thing, and not this piece in particular, but something of that order of magnitude would completely overwhelm the park. That's why it's so great, or it is, because it's on this sort of nothing triangle in the middle of traffic. Everyone sits there. There's nothing to look at except for this gorgeous piece of art.
We just thought we will take it off your hands, but it's fine. We need something.
No, but just in terms of order of magnitude,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think we need to have
You're
something
absolutely correct.
beautifully designed and really,
Something like with some pentagram, wooden notes, or musical instrument, something really that goes together with the children's playground, that kind of thing, that it's all in the same vein. That's what we're aiming for.
We can see what our consultant can come up
Yeah.
with.
And it doesn't have to be the grade of art in public places, because that, like you said, that can
Mr. City
really
Attorney,
get up
can
there.
you allow for public comment?
Sure. Our first caller is Bruce Backman. Bruce, you have 2 minutes.
Hey, thank you very much. I would second what Marilyn says about trying to get something suitable for the park. I just want to emphasize, I overlook the park. I'm actually looking at it right now from my study window. This has got to be one of the most well-used parks. It's a huge tourist attraction. Every day people come, they just sit there to watch the sunset, and we're getting gigantic lines to take the water taxi. In fact, yesterday people were cut off and had to wait for the next taxi. They are so full. So it is a huge draw, and I think it really behooves the image of the city to put something beautiful. As Marilyn says, instead of having a tombstone memorizing the death of the Wallace Gibb, something that celebrates his life and music. Thank you.
Our next caller is Sarah De Los Reyes. Sarah, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, guys. I am sorry I could not be there. I have an event that I have to attend. But thank you. Tanya, you're correct. Yes, something that does not detract from the park, but it actually welcomes at the entrance. I always envision like an arch with notes and things with musical there at the entrance, Maurice Gibb Park. So hopefully we will work with the consultants together and come up with something really, really nice. And thank you for taking this item. And Marilyn is representing me. Thanks.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, so I'd like to move that that CIP work with the neighborhood association in putting together a concept, a realistic concept of what their vision is, what can we deliver, how much could it cost, and then bring it as a referral to the finance committee.
I'll second.
Commissioner Ball, you have any thoughts about that?
No, I'm fine with that.
All right, great. All right, so, and by the way, I just want to put for the record that as it relates to the Star Child, the company that's responsible for moving that pole, which is not FPL, by the way,
It's the 5G pole, right?
is a 5G pole. They have obtained all city permits, but they're waiting for federal regulatory approval. And since there has been a slowdown due to the federal government shutdown, they anticipate to receive their approval within 30 days, and once that clears, it's only a matter of scheduling construction. So that's,
If I can, a question for the city attorney. Based on this, we would go back to commission with a recommendation to refer to FERC?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
okay, cool, awesome.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
so this
colleagues.
item would come back to the next,
Commission.
not the 5G pole, the monument.
I think,
Because the-
unless we want to keep it here to get,
I don't know if we want to fully vacate the design. I don't know if we want to do that at a commission meeting, probably best.
You could keep the item in committee as to the design if you'd like.
It's up to you. It's your
yeah, so we can, yeah, so let's do that. We can keep the design here at committee while the funding aspect of it is being considered by finance. That way we're not holding back the item. It's moving on a parallel path. The funding ultimately is we could have the most beautiful design that we all agree on, unless the money is there.
So I would ask for a little bit of time to meet with the neighborhood association and come up with a concept.
Yeah.
2-3 months
Yeah,
to come back.
that's fine with me. 3 months, let's say 3 months, come back with a design and a referral to finance, on funding.
So July is okay, David?
Yes.
So we'll just say, for purposes of the continuance of the design to the July Land Use Committee meeting. If they need more time, they can always request a deferral.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Marilyn.
So we have a couple more people waiting in the audience. Tom, can you call item number 7, please?
Item number 7 is discuss amendments to the resiliency code regarding veterinary and animal clinics in certain residential performance standard zoning districts.
Okay, so this is my item I brought forward after a resident South of Fifth had an idea for a veterinary wellness clinic for pets in South of Fifth, and apparently we don't have the zoning for that. So Tom, if you can better explain the idea, that'd be great.
Sure. Veterinary clinics are listed as a Class 2 medical use. In our land development regulations, all medical uses, including animal medical uses, have certain classifications. And in the performance standard districts, the residential performance standard districts, as well as CPS 1 districts, Class 2 medical uses are not listed as a permitted use. So we've put together a draft text for a potential LDR amendment that would allow for Class 2 medical uses pertaining to veterinary clinics as an accessory use in the RMPS 1 district, as well as a permitted use in the CPS 1 district. And so if the Land Use Committee is in favor of this, you could endorse this and send it to the commission for a referral to the planning board, which is the recommendation of the administration.
Any of my colleagues have any questions?
No, the only question I would have is would this, hours of operation, because sometimes these clinics operate 24 hours a day on the RPS 1, RMPS 1, that's residential multifamily. Is there a way where we could perhaps not have it be 24 hours a day? When we're talking about CPS 1, those are commercial districts, right?
Correct.
So in the commercial districts, I'm fine if they want to have 24-hour day operations, I'm fine. In the residential multifamily districts, that's where perhaps, not extend 24 hours a day. And I don't know if that's done through this language or how that is done.
Under the LDRs, veterinary clinics are not overnight, do not include typically overnight boarding. If you want, we can include.
But I'm not talking about just boarding, like, for example,
Like an emergency clinic.
Emergency
That's
clinics.
Okay. We could certainly include text in this to make it clear that in the RMPS 1 district, that this would be limited in hours to normal business hours or something like
yeah,
that. So
or
it's not
something,
24 hours.
nothing beyond 10 or 11 p.m.
Okay.
And I don't know if the chair would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Yeah, I just want to see where on the map that would be, because it would be nice to have a 24-hour.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah.
On the beach.
Yeah.
Because I have to go, unfortunately, I have to go to downtown.
That's the same thing that happens to me. There's the one on Biscayne Boulevard.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're all freaking flyers there.
Yes.
yeah, my dog ate a bag of chocolate one day, like literally 2 bags of chocolate, and I had to take her there.
We need a 24-hour eye doctor. Also, by the way, Commissioner.
The RMPS 1 district is the area basically where the old courts development is.
That's the way, say that again, which area?
It's the area where the old courts development is. It's basically the area bounded between First and Second Street, from Alton to
That's,
Washington.
what district is that?
RMPS1.
Yeah, that is more in the center of the residential. Generally, the CPS1 districts are more at the boundary of the area, fronts Fifth Street, fronts Washington, I believe, CPS1.
CPS1's actually much more limited. It's located further south, but it's on Washington, it's on Collins, south of roughly Second Street. Whereas this area that's RMPS1 is between First and Second from Alton to Washington.
But I will say through the chair, those are not high-intensity uses. You know, they might be busy on the inside, but they're dead silent on the outside. There aren't pet emergency ambulances. And as long as there's parking, so that people just pull in off the street, I don't think this would be a disruptive use. I don't want to set a precedent like having all-night 7-Elevens or anything, but I think this is a different kind of use. It's not the kind of place where people gather and loiter. It's not disruptive. It's all internal.
Yeah, I would like to have the ability, because there's also a financial incentive for a clinic to open up as a 24-hour emergency care. And like Commissioner Abbott said, the people showing up at, if, God forbid, something happens at midnight, it's not like they're going to be blasting music, right? I mean, it's an amenity for the city, or at least in South Beach, to have.
Okay, yeah, let's try it. I mean, let's try it. I'm open-minded.
And, it can be, somebody comes forward and wants to do it, you make sure that there is ample parking, there's loading dock, that there are noise restrictions, that, it's built in, very cognizant of where it is situated.
Let me just ask a question. Do we have, are these allowed uses, these veterinarian animal clinics, are they allowed uses in other areas? Alton Road, 41st Street, Collins Avenue, 71st Street?
Yes, they're permitted uses within most commercial districts.
So these are the exceptions?
Yeah.
So like Washington Avenue, there could be veterinary.
Those sections of Washington Avenue that are zone CD2, or CPS2. So Washington Avenue between roughly 4th Street and 2nd Street, that's where you have RPS3 and RPS2 zoning, so it wouldn't be permitted, and there's no proposed changes there. The only proposed changes here would be the area along Washington between 1st and 2nd.
How about the CD2 and the CD3 sections of Washington?
That's north of 5th Street, actually north of 6th Street,
Yeah.
and it would be permitted there.
It would be permitted, okay. Yeah,
It's already permitted
I'm
there.
happy to move the sponsor's item as presented. I think is a worthy cause and is to the quality of life of our residents. So I'm happy to move it for the chair.
Yeah, I'll second that, but before, I don't know if you wanted to say a few things, and was there anyone on Zoom? Okay.
No one on Zoom.
No, we,
Name and.
oh, sure, Rick Knight. I live at 801 South Point Drive. Commissioner, thank you for your help. Tom, thanks for your help. I think the important thing is on South of Fifth, especially it's a great neighborhood for pets with all the parks and everything, but what we're missing is the health care for the animals, right? And so coming there and looking at the spot we're looking at, Washington has valet parking for people who want to bring their pets. Plenty of areas of use. We're looking at not going 24 hours at this point in time, but we'll find a way to do that because so many pet owners and friends of mine have to go, as you said, all the way over to Biscayne to get their animals taken care of. So we really appreciate your support and hopefully we can get it up and going within the next several months.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
So we can adopt this by acclamation?
Sure, in accordance with the recommendation in the memo.
Yeah.
Optimation.
Okay, we got, communications here. I want to get that out of the way, Melissa. Item number 12.
Okay, item number 12 is discuss a comprehensive branding campaign for the Art Deco Historic District of South Beach.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
So back about a year ago, we had referred an item to develop a comprehensive branding initiative for the Art Deco Historic District to highlight our unique architectural beauty and the cultural significance of the district and the importance of cultural tourism for Miami Beach. And the idea and the goal was to promote heritage tourism, draw visitors that care about our architecture, that care about our history, that care about our tropical, vibrant, historic community, and to highlight that. And especially that, this is a location that is in the National Register of Historic Districts, that it's since 1979, that is the largest collection of Art Deco buildings in the United States, and that is often forgotten about, and that is often, not just forgotten about in our community because we take it for granted because we see it every day, but if we forget about it, that means legislators are forgetting about it and others are forgetting about it when they need to know that this is a beautiful patrimony that we have inherited, that we need to celebrate, that we need to elevate. So we brought this item forward, and also I want to thank, by the way, Irene Bigger and Annette Grant of the Art Deco Neighborhood Association, with whom we met about this item, who really had the initiative. They were the reason why we put this item forward, and our communications department. Our communications department, Linda and Melissa, together with the GMCVB, heard the message seriously, and they put their creative juices to work, and they've got a really beautiful product to present us with today. So with that, I want to recognize Linda to present on the item. Go ahead, Linda.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Linda Stevens. I'm the Associate Director for Marketing and Communications, and I have the pleasure to present the Art Deco Designed to Move You campaign, which was created, as Commissioner Fernandez stated, with a partnership with the GMCVB. Without them, we could not have done this. And really the star of this campaign, I know you have the copy of the map, but the star of the campaign is the video that we produced late last year, and which went to market throughout November and December. And it is also part of our Evergreen campaign, which is launching in April and goes through the end of December on a national level. In Miami Beach, we had bus shelters, we wrapped a trolley, also Ike kiosks had the campaign. We had banners, digital banners that were shown in different social media channels. And with that, I will let the video speak for itself. I just wanted to also give a shout out to, we worked really hard with a historic preservation and architecture officer, picking all the locations that you see on the map. Each location was illustrated.
I'm going to do a Vanna White so you can, because they got the map beforehand. But
So this is the map. On one side, you have 40 notable buildings in the Art Deco district. Each of them was hand illustrated. And then on the back, you have a little bit of history about Tropical Art Deco, which is Miami Beach Art Deco. And these maps come in this holder that we distributed last week to area hotels in Miami Beach as well as Miami with the help of the Concierge Association. We also distributed to our facilities and our buildings, including recreation. The video, we worked with the Historic Preservation and Architecture Officer to identify locations to film. We filmed both outside to show the architecture, but also inside to show the Art Deco style. We did a dance video because we thought Designed to Move You speaks to, how Art Deco can move you emotionally, but also we wanted people to get moving and walk around, use micromobility to visit the Art Deco district.
And even the name of it, Art Deco Designed to Move You. I mean, it is so awesome. And when you see this choreographed video and the different iterations of it, it really is amazing. And should we have PJ roll it?
Yes, please.
All right, PJ, let's go for it.
You want, whatever you want.
Linda, and Melissa, I have to say that our communications department, I hear it when I go to the Florida League of Cities and other conferences, our communications department is the envy of municipalities around the state of Florida. I mean, this is such a professionally done product that the GNCVB can use to market our destination. Going away from that nightlife and party theme and to highlight what we want to highlight. Just how during spring break, we've been highlighting health and wellness, for the rest of the year, highlighting cultural and heritage tourism and using this as a product that they can use in their collateral. So not just a video, the printed walking tour map that you guys have designed and the website that the GMCVB has designed. They're reaching different markets. They're putting this video. So we don't see this locally. Is that correct?
We started out in the Tri-County in November, December, and now we're expanding to Tampa, Los Angeles with out of home, but we also have digital media that will be on CTV as well as social media channels.
So people around outside of our region who are looking for places to go to, this is the product that the GNCVB will put before them to market our destination. And I just love that because it just highlights everything about Miami Beach, our architecture. And one of the things I love about it is that it not only highlights the exterior and the facades, but it highlights the quiet part of our architectural beauty, which are the lobbies, which are the secret. Even the post office that you put there and that beautiful public lobby that it has, and some of our other hotels, the Park Central and others that have these gorgeous lobbies that people oftentimes they walk through the facades, but they don't go, but that's just superficial. When you go in there, you get immersed in that energy and you've captured that so well. Thank you.
Thank you.
For delivering this beautiful work product.
You know how I feel about this. I think it's a smash home run, out of the park home run. I love it for a million different reasons. I also love the fact that we were able, through our micro-mobility task force, to include biking and e-mobility information, which is so key because this is a walking and biking city. So success upon success with this. Can you tell me what the cost was just for designing and producing the map, not the entire?
Sure. We worked with a vendor from the UK because we needed a map maker, and the total cost for the maps with shipping and the holders, I believe, was between $30,000 and $35,000.
Including the design?
Including the design.
Okay, so this is amazing, and also it stops at Dade Boulevard. We have Miami Modern, which is a whole different type of architecture that starts in the 50s and heads up through the 70s. I would like to, I don't know if we can, Nick, I don't know if we can do a referral from here or if I need to bring it in April, but I would like to do one of these that covers the North Beach Historic District, which is also a nationally recognized district, the North Beach Resort District, between the hotels. I mean, the Fontainebleau and the Eden Rock alone, not on here because it's not that kind of architecture, but those hotels, the neighborhoods of buildings that were built in the 40s and 50s when the GIs came home that are beautiful and in great condition and covered with bougainvillea. Like, let's highlight those. And it's a little bit different because it's more residential, not as much open to the public space, right? We're not going to be wandering into people's apartment buildings, but it is very bikeable. There's the whole park up there. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I would like to commission, no pun intended, one of these for North Beach as well, please. And that cost is unbeatable.
And I'll second that. And I just want to add that with this one, it ended at Dade Boulevard because, the idea was to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Art Deco movement, of course, and, our nationally designated historic district. We wanted to highlight that. That was the vision.
Of course.
With the Art Deco Neighborhood Association. But you're right, because when we think about Miami Beach architecture, of course, what comes to mind was our beautiful Art Deco architecture that, attracts the attention of the world. But you're right, there's so many other types of architecture, Miami Modern and other types that deserve to be celebrated as well.
You know, the band shell obviously was just
Yes.
Right.
federally designated. We have 13 new buildings coming up in Town Center and North Beach. Those people need to know where they live and where they're visiting. So, Nick, do we need to do, can we do it from here or do we need to do it at a?
You could propose it as a motion by the committee. I think Commissioner Fernandez seconded that. And the motion would be to recommend that the city commission refer an item to do a similar campaign for Mid and North Beach.
I love it.
I would like to point out also that we do have a website that highlights beyond Art Deco. It's miamibeachfl.gov/architecture. So MIMO is also highlighted, Mediterranean Revival. And lastly, we were able to do this through GMCVB funding entirely.
Great.
The partnership with the GMCVB is incredible. Little did I know when we had our initial meeting, they were already looking at similar stuff, a year ago. They were ready, but they were happy to join efforts. They have always been working closely with you guys. So thank you for this work.
Thank you.
It celebrates Art Deco very well, and I think the residents should be proud of how we're highlighting our heritage.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have two callers on Zoom.
Sure.
The first is Daniel Serraldo. Daniel, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Daniel Serraldo, and thank you, by the way, the marketing department. I was working at MDPL back when this was initiated during the Art Deco Centennial. And although it's a year later, better late than never. And it's just such a great campaign to celebrate Art Deco, as well as, the arts and culture that define our city. I did get a text, why wasn't MDPL mentioned? I don't think that was on purpose with this land use committee, but just want to thank the MDPL members who work so hard every day to preserve, protect, and promote. I know there's also the women's exhibit that MDPL initiated back with the Women's Commission. And it's just this incredible legacy of 50 years. It continues. And it's good to see the commission actually supporting Art Deco, building it up and not tearing it down. Thank you.
Our next caller is Mark Needle. Mark, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I want to congratulate the marketing department for yet again finding creative ways to highlight the assets of Miami Beach. And Commissioner Fernandez, I think you're very smart to look at it as messaging to the legislature during a time when the benefits of our scale and historic community could easily be overlooked in a desire to spur development. And I just wanted to say that I feel like there's one other audience that the marketing department and the city should consider, and that is the residents. I would love, one of the things that was mentioned and is a little bit been dismissed is the idea of marketing as part of a solution for making Washington Avenue back into Main Street for residents. And I think that involves highlighting the many cultural assets along Washington Avenue and the areas where there are strong quality of life, commercial assets that are happening. And I really feel like if we look at the residents as an audience for our stellar marketing department, and it could be an ancillary part of the campaign that was just developed, but really a little bit more focused and very complimentary. Thank you so much.
And through the chair, if I may? Yeah. Is there anybody else?
No more callers.
Just for the record, the Miami Design Preservation League is featured proudly and predominantly on this back of or where all the information is. So MDPL is a part of this and an important part of preserving our architectural history.
Okay, speaking of Art Deco, let's move to item number 13.
And just, Mr. Chair, for the record on item 12, the motion was to conclude the item and recommend that the City Commission consider a similar campaign for the North Beach Historic Districts.
Yeah, we can adopt that by acclamation.
Okay, so the next item is item 13?
Yeah.
Item 13 is monthly updates on historic hotel development on Collins Avenue between 14th and 20th Street, including an overview of pending permits and progress updates from development teams.
Commissioner?
Do you want me to go ahead and provide an update?
Well, I'm happy to make a motion to accept the update. What I'd like to know is when is the grand opening for the Delano? Because that's important. That's coming back in line. When do we anticipate that's going to open up?
That was, I think, supposed to open up sooner. I think they were delayed. I don't have a specific date for when that actual grand opening is going to be. They're getting
Wait,
close.
I see someone, the Honorable Neeson Caston, approaching the podium. Mr. Caston, good morning.
Good morning, Chair Fernandez, and members of the committee.
No, I'm vice chair.
Oh,
The
excuse me.
chair is,
Excuse me, Chair Suarez. And
old
members of the
habits are hard to
committee.
break.
Neeson Caston of Ackerman, I represent the Delano. They want to get the property open before the World Cup. And so they are working mightily towards that goal. It could be able to be open in a few weeks.
This should be a big community celebration because I think, it highlights whenever these hotels open up, it gives us the opportunity to highlight our architectural heritage and the importance of preserving it and the success stories of those who have seen value in investing in preservation because they do get a return on the investment.
Well, they have invested, if I may say, an enormous amount of money. They're doing work on the building that was never done in any of the prior renovations, completely new systems, actually reducing the room count some. It's going to be a magnificent
I think
project. And the restoring the original the elements and highlights of the pre-Philip Stark architecture when Bob Swartberg, his original design of the building, who, by the way, happened to be my neighbor when I was a kid growing up.
I think it's important for us to work together in highlighting, opportunities like these where preservation and investment and development can coexist to help counter the narrative.
Right.
The narrative that haunts us every legislative session that preservation doesn't work, that Miami Beach doesn't work with its property owners. Here is a perfect example. And so, I think we should be celebrating this. We should be highlighting this. I would love for the developer to work with the city in messaging this, inviting our legislators to tour the property and see what a beautifully renovated property looks like.
And I would say we've been working very well with the city, but as you know, Maria, in the last few weeks to get something open, there are always a lot of things, and we would certainly appreciate your personal attention to make sure that
What's going on? What's holding up?
Nothing in particular, but when you come to the point of needing to get your TCO so that everything can be open, and have your staff in there fully training, there are a lot of issues, and we just, Maria's familiar with all this, and your personal attention on this would be very helpful.
Maria, I would like to get an update from now on forward until that TCO is issued, because this is what affects us ultimately, and why sometimes we get preempted. It's little things that really is not about the legislative process that we have in place, but it's more about the inner workings of bureaucracy. And remember, we want to make our city friendly and easy to navigate and remove as many obstacles as we can. And so I would like to get updates until this TCO is issued.
Absolutely, Commissioner. I'm already on that project, and so is Vince. The last 5% is always the hardest.
Always the hardest.
Everybody knows
Right.
that. So,
I want to stay in the loop, please.
Yes, I will
This is a
definitely
priority. We
get
need
you
to
updated.
highlight these successes. Now, let me ask, separate from the Delano, and again, I want us to highlight this, to celebrate this. This is something that the city of Miami Beach should take pride in, because we need these opportunities to counter the narrative in Tallahassee.
And among our residents.
Yeah, that's true too. What's going on with the Raleigh Hotel?
The Borali Hotel, there hasn't been much of a change in terms of the last update. They have a permit, they're doing work. My staff was out there a few weeks ago as part of this update. They did see some activity there, so it's not completely vacant. But I think we'd like them to see them move faster to get that building renovated in accordance with the approved permit.
I need.
For the public, what is the holdup there?
There's been a change in ownership. The previous owner, who wasn't doing much, recently sold the property. The new owner, we expect, wants to move forward with what has been approved, but we just haven't really seen robust work happening on site.
Well, I have to say, for me, the most important, there's two parts to the Raleigh Hotel. There's the preservation of the historic structures that are being held up by chopsticks, feels like. And then there's the new development that has been approved. And my priority is to see that true efforts are being placed into the preservation of those buildings. And so I need an update at the next meeting. I would like to have a representative of the property here present, because this has been an ongoing challenge for our city. You know, not only a lot of hotel rooms out of inventory there, but again, this is our patrimony being held up by chopsticks. And all you need is one bad storm, and now we lose that architecture. So for me, that is the priority. We need to have them come before the committee.
I'm on top of that one too, Commissioner. I'm going to be meeting with representatives from the ownership this afternoon at 3 o'clock with the building department. And we're going to start talking about a path forward to see how far they can go. So I'm on it.
Thank you.
Tom, if there was a storm and those chopsticks fell.
Right now, there's a scaffold on the whole building, but
Well,
that's
you know,
always.
just curious, because we are approaching hurricane season.
Yes.
If that facade did fall and just break into 1,000 pieces, what would be the recourse?
If the building was damaged beyond what has been approved and permitted, they would be required to go back to the Historic Preservation Board to seek relief, and the Historic Preservation Board would have to decide whether they would require that it be replicated, whether a new building be redesigned. The Historic Preservation Board in this instance would likely require the replication of the building.
But isn't replication the presumption if that were to happen, Mr. Attorney? I thought we amended the code to make it the presumption that replication would be required.
That's correct.
Just want to make sure. So hopefully the representatives of the developer are listening, that if they play any game like that, and if a storm comes, they're like, oops, it fell. Well, no, well then, guess what? You know, the presumption is that you're going to replicate it.
Okay.
I would love to make a motion asking the communications department to collaborate with the Delano on communicating on their, you know, renovation, highlighting the preservation efforts and so on. Because I do think it is important for our legislative efforts in Tallahassee to highlight this.
Okay, and then
I'll
you,
second that.
and then you want to bring this back in June? And we can request that the developer of the Raleigh attend the meeting to present?
I think before June, because June 1st is hurricane season. And I think Chairman Suarez makes a very good point, like, you know, if a storm comes, what happens? And so I think we should be having this conversation sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I want to also make sure that, you know, we're not saying that their intentions are bad. You know, like, they're not. I think it's a new owner, just recently. Let's give them the best opportunity to move forward. I'd love to see them come before us and kind of explain what's going on. But tell him, you know, that, look, we do live in a hurricane-prone city, so we want to make sure whatever is being preserved is, you know, is going to be preserved in case of, God forbid, a storm that comes. And it doesn't have to be just a hurricane. It could be any kind of storm that can really knock that down. Okay, so we have some commissioners on Zoom who would like to, Move it by acclamation?
Yeah, now, in terms of coming back, we could bring this back next Wednesday and see if they're available next Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe the rally portion of it, the chair is okay with it.
Yeah, if they're available, sure.
Okay, so why don't we move this to next Wednesday, April 1st, and we'll see if the Raleigh is available.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Okay, let's call number 8, please.
okay. Item number 8 is discuss an LDR amendment pertaining to a proposed distance separation exemption for tobacco and vape uses in North Beach.
Commissioner Dominguez, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Take it away.
All right, so this is an item that was brought forward by Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez. There is a North Beach resident, Mohammed Islam, who owns or family owns different stores. He purchased a store, I think it's about a year ago, and because of recent legislation, his neighbors can sell tobacco products, but he cannot. And he has been working with Tom Mooney to see what we can do to allow him to continue the operations as they were previously. Let me see if there were any other notes here. Tom, I'll let you give any additional details. I know this was discussed at the commission briefly, and it may have been Commissioner Suarez that said, Tom, can we figure something out here with getting the backup that Mohammed needs to submit? So here we are.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, Tom, I think when we discussed this, it was, was establishment previously selling tobacco and then his BTR lapsed, or if you can give us the full story?
Sure. This particular item came to the commission, as you may recall, on December 17th of last year, 2025. It was discussed at first reading, and then it was deferred to the Land Use Committee for further discussion. One of the things that was raised was whether or not the space had a previous license to sell tobacco and vape, and whether or not that previous license had been abandoned. Based upon what we have researched to date, there's no evidence that tobacco and vape was permitted there in the past. And there's no evidence that a tobacco and vape license is currently existing or was previously existing and had not been abandoned. We haven't seen any evidence toward that. So absent that, they would not be able to sell tobacco and vape because they don't meet the distance separation requirements.
Commissioner Dominguez says his neighbors do sell tobacco.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and the reason they sell tobacco is because they were licensed before the current limits on tobacco and vape were codified. Anybody moving forward would be subject to the new rules.
That's straight. He bought the establishment, and now he wants to be able to sell tobacco?
That's my understanding, is that he wants to be able to add tobacco and vape to his proposed convenience store use. The convenience store would be permitted, but tobacco and vape would not be permitted because of the distance separation requirement.
And his neighbors do sell?
I believe that some of the stores.
Like adjacent neighbor?
There are some entities in that area. I don't know specifically which ones, but there are entities within that area that had previous tobacco and vape licenses, and they were licensed before the current regulations were put in place.
If I may.
Commissioner.
You know, the North Beach Commercial Character Overlay District was one of the first pieces of legislation I worked on as an elected official.
I remember.
You remember? Yes.
Got a lot of stuff, got a lot of flack for it, too.
I did, and that's what we did. That's fair game.
Yeah.
You know, we can't expect everyone to support our initiatives. Tom, what was the recommendation of the planning board?
The planning board recommended on September 9th, 2025, the planning board held a public hearing and transmitted the proposed ordinance to the city commission with an unfavorable recommendation by a vote of 7-0.
You know, it hurts me because I love Muhammad. Muhammad is a wonderful individual, a kind neighbor. He loves the city. He contributes civically to the city, and just an incredible family man and public servant. However, I sponsored this original legislation to safeguard the character and the area. I would make a motion to keep the recommendation of the planning board and transmit that recommendation to the city commission.
Mohammed's online, and I don't know if Commissioner Dominguez wants to say a couple more words, but I'd like to hear from Mohammed.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate so that we can hear from Mohammed. Yeah, this item is a tough one. I would like for the full commission to hear it, and if Mohammed is on, he should have an opportunity to state his case.
Go ahead. Mohammed, you there? Gotta unmute.
Sorry. Yes, good afternoon. I heard this meeting since beginning, so I appreciate our most of the discussion about different topics. But I appreciate that if you can help the small business owner, they are suffering with this problem. To their main product sale is cigarette and beer. But unfortunately, cigarette is a main item. They cannot sell it, so they cannot survive it. Our Commissioner Dominguez, she already explained, and I explained to our most of the commissioner, the situation is like this, that people, those are on the business, they pay a lot of money for the rent, but they cannot survive without selling tobacco. So if you guys help them, and we have a city of Miami have some issue, they can help the small business owner to survive. So it is, I know this is an agenda that I request you to help the people, those are suffering for this, restriction for the cigarette sale. So please help these people to survive their life and continue to selling tobacco. It is this is my honest request to our commissioners and our board. So please.
Thank you, Mohammed. Tom, I got a question. Would it be possible to give like a grace period of, say, 2 years, where he's allowed to do this for 2 years, and then maybe he gets into some sort of covenant where, the owner agrees to no longer sell after maybe 2 or 3 years, and that way he can get his feet off the ground. I think year after year, I think less people are smoking tobacco, so hopefully, he can phase out that business and gives his business a little bit more time to adapt.
So if the proposed ordinance was adopted, it's a very narrow exception within the blocks where his business is. Could we include a provision within that limited exception that would sunset?
That I think is a good idea. Perhaps allowing them to, because I hear Mohammed about helping the business, and we want to be able to help our small business.
Yeah, let Tom finish. Is it possible?
Yeah, now, and I'm going to ask Nick as well, if this was a voluntary sunset provision, could we, as part of this amendment, include a sunset provision? So somebody would basically be getting a CUBTR and then agreeing by covenant to discontinue tobacco and vape sales after a certain period.
I think given that this is a use that's not currently allowed on the subject property, I think the city commission might have the flexibility to do that. I mean, we can work out the language if this is if that's the recommendation of the committee.
So this is Commissioner Dominguez's item. Commissioner, if this is something you'd like to amend, or I don't know if she has to bring back as a separate item, but I think there's certainly appetite between the two of us. I don't know how Commissioner Bott feels about this, but to have some sort of sunset provision.
Yeah, we did something similar with the hookahs on Lincoln Road, where I remember we extended it, but they had within 3 years to abandoned that business model. So I'd be very much in favor of something like that.
And if I may, through the chair, just ask a question. Is the challenge that's going to happen is that if we're going to create a dependency, this business is going to depend on this market the way that it's depending on it now. The reason why they're coming and seeking legislative relief from the city commission, under the language that's before us, how many establishments could benefit from this proposal?
The proposal that's before you is narrow, and it's basically would apply to the area on the west side of Collins Avenue between 65th and 67th Street.
Okay. And what if, for this language that we have before us, what if on this specific language, we put a sunset provision on this language that expires within a year, within 365 days of the effective date, so that therefore upon the expiration of this language, the use can continue just in a non-conforming way. That way, because we're going to create a dependency for this business. This business is going to depend on this in order to survive, but that way others can't, we don't start to see the proliferation that we tried to address through this legislation. And I don't know if that would be a viable option.
Sure, we could do just a standard sunset provision.
A standard sunset
Yeah.
provision, and that's an option for the chair for the sponsor to consider. That way, at the end of the sunset period, the use can continue in a non-conforming way, legal non-conforming, and others couldn't do the same. Is that something that would be amenable?
Well, that would be up to the sponsor.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, we have one caller on Zoom.
And so, and by the way, what I would do then, I would amend my motion. Rather than an unfavorable recommendation, I would do a motion with no recommendation. So we're not saying we're opposing this, but we're open to ideas on how to make this better.
This is, Commissioner Dominguez.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so the idea is to, no recommendation, sunset provision after 1 year?
Yeah.
And then after 1 year, it becomes.
Legal non-conforming.
And they're still allowed to continue. Commissioner Bott, where are you on this? Because, this is your neighborhood.
I'm really torn. I echo everything that's been said. Mr. Islam is a great neighbor and a great resident and a small business owner, and we're trying to not punish small business owners. My thought was if we give a 3-year sunset provision, that yes, for those 3 years he can sell vape and tobacco, but he can also start transitioning to either sell the business or create a different business model.
Yeah, I like the sunsetting after 3 years. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like to have it legal non-conforming. I'd actually like to stop selling
Yeah,
tobacco after a
I
certain
think
period
that's
of time.
where I'm netting out on this. So I think 3 years is a good time, so the cash flow can come in over the next year or two, while, plans can be made, starting immediately, of how to either transition or offload the property. This is not his only property, so hopefully there'd be be able to be a balance between his other properties and how he can sort things out. But I think 3 years is a fair amount of time to extricate
I think that's a
oneself.
good compromise, Commissioner Fernandez. I mean,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's ultimately up to the sponsor. I'm making a motion for no recommendation to give the sponsor the opportunity to work on this while still letting it move forward to the commission, because we do have a small business that is trying to survive and needs this legislative relief.
Sounds good. Commissioner Dominguez, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So we're landing on the sunset of 3 years. And then I'll work with the city attorney's office on language and the planning department on anything else that needs to be added. And then it'll go to the when's the next commission meeting, the 22nd?
April 22nd, correct.
Okay.
You can come back at first reading. And so, just for clarity purposes, the recommendation of land use would be the sunset provision of 3 years, and after 3 years, no more sales of tobacco or vape products after 3 years. They would have to agree basically by covenant to discontinue that no later than 3 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. We have Commissioner Magazine also, so let's call item 4, please.
Okay. Item number 4 is an amendment to the land development regulations of the city code to modify the application and review procedures for all land use boards and to expand the types of development projects and improvements located outside of historic districts and sites that can be approved at staff level. This was a dual referral to the planning board, so whatever recommendation is made by land use, we will be able to take it directly to the planning board.
Commissioner Magazine, are you on?
I am. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioner Nabat, city staff. Thank you. Beautiful and blessed Tuesday to everybody. It's, wow. I mean, just taking a look outside, how blessed are we to just live in Miami Beach. I think sometimes it's important we get caught up in all the craziness of our day-to-day jobs, just to take a step back. And we're amongst the most blessed people in the entire world for living in such a paradise. So presenting this, following on the themes of a lot of things that have already been touched on here throughout the course of the day. 1, helping small businesses. 2, when we talked about the Delano and some of the possible delays that tend to happen around the end, waiting to get TCO'd. I've followed our board processes incredibly close, and this really comes from taking a long, hard look at the processes, some of the delays that have been presented. You know, time is money for our businesses and for residents as well. This isn't just a commercial endeavor. This is helping our residents as well. So essentially what this does is streamline processes that are more simplified. I'll let Tom kind of go through some of the meat and potatoes of the things that we included, but this was very staff driven. I just started at a very high level about how can we fine tune and streamline, get rid of some of the red tape, get rid of the bureaucracy that is causing some of these applications just to languish in various board processes for months and months. For example, and I don't even know if this would be covered under it. I didn't contemplate this, and the timing won't allow it to apply to this anyway. But as you all know, I've been working very long and hard on the paddle project on the rooftop of the 17th Street garage. They are ready to go, have all their plans finalized, submitted. The first time they're able to get to DRB. And again, this is for a rooftop recreational facility. Right now, it is just empty concrete. It's the ugliest thing in the world. It's not really visible from the ground floor or even from adjoining buildings. But they are going to the May DRB. They have all their plans ready, but they can't even begin to file for permits until they know what that outcome of the DRB is. Now they're trying to get open for season, and that is not going to be possible, because of this. So I've seen time and time again the most arbitrary delays in some of these boards, especially with DRB. There's been multitudes of times where these meetings get canceled because of lack of quorum and things like that. There's a month in the summertime where there's no meeting in August. So where we can streamline processes, we have this legislation to be able to do so. And it's up to the chair if you want to get into the nuanced detail of that. Like I said, I was very hands-off in that. I let staff kind of come back with their recommendations. But this essentially just kind of takes what can be streamlined for staff approval, puts the power in the hands of our highly trained, highly paid, highly qualified experts. The meat and potatoes is still going to go through the processes, but this is just to help streamline for our residents and small businesses, things that can be approved at an administrative staff level in a more expedited fashion.
Thank you, Commissioner Magazine. So Tom, maybe you can give some of the highlights for the public.
Sure. I think Commissioner Magazine did a good job of covering the substance of the proposal. As he indicated, we came up with some options that we presented to him that he agreed with that would significantly expand administrative review authority for projects that are located outside of historic districts. So projects that previously had required DRB approval could be reviewed and approved by staff. The legislation also provides some clarifications regarding hearings not being subject to a standard 30-day notice if they're limited to clarifications or they're limited to very minor revisions to a previously approved project. And then lastly, the other thing that we did was we included some language that would clarify the scope and role of the land use boards to make sure that each of the land use boards stays in their lane, that they're reviewing projects for consistency with their specific criteria and what their scope and their role was intended to be, which is architecture, site planning, urban design.
Yeah. All of us were at the Holocaust Memorial on Sunday, and one of the things that stuck out to me with one of the presenters was that they had an issue with the DRB, right, getting approval, and it actually took Mayor Gelber to step in and kind of move it along because there was so much, I guess, pushback, and that's for a Holocaust memorial. I can't imagine, what other things that we may not know about are getting held back because of like a bureaucratic red tape process. I can certainly see that there needs to be reform in this process because time and time again, a lot of business owners, a lot of landlords tell me one of the worst things is having to deal with the DRB in terms of approvals, notice requirements, even meeting quorum in some situations. And so this is a this was a staff-driven approach?
Yeah, we had, at Commissioner Magazine's request, we came up with a number of different options to expand what could be approved administratively. So a lot of these smaller projects or less consequential or not substantively impactful projects could be approved administratively. And so we came up with these lists, and they're within the text that's in the memo.
Commissioner Bott?
I have a question, Tom. On point number 3, talking about the DRB may only prescribe appropriate conditions, et cetera, unless proffered by the applicant. So on the planning board, there would be times when the applicant wouldn't proffer a condition, but the planning board would say, would you be willing to proffer? And then they would consult amongst themselves and say yes or no. So the way it's worded makes it seem like the applicant would have to voluntarily, spontaneously offer something that they may not even know was something that would be desired as a condition. Is that the intent, or is the intent, are we really going to keep people on these boards from saying, would you consider proffering X?
No, this would still give the ability to the applicant to proffer something that would, say, be outside the scope of normal DRB review.
Right, but what happens is that they might not necessarily, the applicant might not necessarily think to proffer something, but one of the people sitting on the committee, on the board, would say, hey, this would be a great thing, would you be willing to proffer it? So if the proffer request comes from the board, it can't happen?
No, that's not the way that this is written. This basically specifically allows for proffers of the applicant, and so.
Right, but it's from the applicant, not from the board member. So what I'm saying is, if the board member chooses to say, hey, I have an idea, would you be willing to proffer X? The way it's written here, it doesn't seem like that is permissible, because the proffer only comes from the applicant.
But the answer is here is in the language. It says the board shall not
What page?
impose any, 139, The board shall not impose any condition that are outside the scope, applicability, and purpose of the board as more specifically outlined in Chapter 2 of these land development regulations. The foregoing shall not preclude or prohibit voluntary proffers of the project applicants.
I understand that.
And I think that that addresses what.
It doesn't.
Hold
It
on.
doesn't address that, because again, it's the voluntary proffer from a project applicant, but the project applicant may not even be thinking about things the way a board member might.
You know, I have a fundamental disagreement on this because this actually happened last time. I think it was Matthew Galtonoff while he was on the planning board, and asked the applicant. I think. Can you remind me, Nick? What was the application? He asked the applicant for. I don't know if it was funding to a certain portion. I don't think that we should allow land use members ask for things outside the scope, because what was it? He was asking for funding for the bike path, or
It was a contribution to I believe a transit improvements
right.
fund.
And who was the
mobility fund.
applicant at the time?
It was an applicant for a conditional use permit south of Fifth. It might have been one of the restaurants in. It might.
Yeah, yeah. I want to try to. I don't want to put, our planning board or historic or land use board members in an ethical dilemma, right? I don't even think that was ethical to for a member to be asking for something outside the scope, if I remember correctly.
If I may, to be clear, I'm not suggesting that they should be asking for proffers that are outside of the scope. But you might be talking about, I can't come up with an example, but you might be talking about something within the scope of the project, and a solution would be if they proffered to do X. But because the applicant isn't thinking that way, through no fault of theirs, they're sort of standing there prepared with their notes on the project and and answering questions, and somebody on the board, I mean, that's the beauty of these boards, is that somebody thinks outside of the box and says, hey, this could be a solution, would you accept X as a condition?
I think that's just part of the process, no?
But the way, I'm having a concern
Commissioner.
with the way this is worded, is that it can only come out of the mouth of an applicant as opposed to
let's have Nick
out of the
respond
mouth of a board
Commissioner,
member.
I don't think this ordinance would bar that kind of a proffer at all. I think what this ordinance does is limit the conditions that a land use board imposes to issues that are within the scope of their respective
I'm totally fine with the
review
scope part.
criteria.
I just have an issue with voluntary proffers of the project applicant. Can we just reword that a little bit so it comes out of the natural conversation of the board within the scope?
I think even if it comes out of the conversation of the board, if it's something that the applicant voluntarily agrees to, then this ordinance would not prohibit them from doing that. So
So maybe the thing is the word agrees to, as opposed to, because right now the way I'm reading it is the applicant has to make the proffer. So it could be a condition suggested and suggested by the board and agreed to by the applicant.
we will, if this is the will of the committee, we'll ensure that sentence expressly allows an applicant to continue to make proffers. From my perspective, it's voluntary. It's voluntary whether or not it was a board member or
But
the applicant
what I'm
who
missing is
came
that
up
the
with.
board member might make the suggestion.
That would still be a voluntary proffer by the applicant.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
I'd like to, am I allowed to move the item as a chair, or if it's not my item? Forgot.
You can, traditionally, the chair passes the gavel when
So I just have a question. So when we say this would allow rooftop additions not to exceed 35 feet, is this across all zoning districts?
And if I could, Mr. Vice Chair, it's not as if this would allow additions that are outside of our height or FAR. So, I hope city staff can confirm this, but this gives absolutely no staff allowance to approve height or FAR increases. This is saying when they still have an allowable as of right possibility to build 30 feet. staff can take a look at that.
Yeah, that's correct. Commissioner Fernandez, just to answer your question, this would apply to any district outside of an historic district where design review board approval would otherwise be required. The 35-foot maximum could not exceed the maximum height limit of the district. So if this was proposed in a district, say, where the height limit was 50 feet and the building was at 40 feet, they couldn't do a rooftop addition of more than 10 feet. Similarly, if they're a 20-foot building, they would not be able to do an addition of more than 30 feet.
So, but let me ask you this. Right now, those rooftop additions, for example, would have to go before the DRB.
Correct.
Okay, so how does expanding the administrative design review authority of the administration safeguard our design standards? Because right now, a resident could participate in the process.
Correct.
And so this would residents still, would there be some sort of notice that there's an administrative process going through for these approvals?
No.
Because and the reason why I ask it is, for example, Commissioner Suarez, before you were elected, administrative approvals is what started your advocacy. Administrative approvals that the public were not aware of, but that then impacted your quality of life, the safety of your neighborhood, changed the character of where you live. And here we're looking, rooftop additions, that's something that's pretty significant. You're talking 35 feet, that's 3 stories. When you're talking about some of the lower scale areas, that could be a 75% or even a 100% increase in height that would normally require public vetting through a committee where the public can participate and give input and all that, talk about the setbacks, talk about shadows, talk about, sidelines and vision, which is important to discuss. But residents wouldn't have that ability anymore by having it be an administrative review. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be here, but I think it's something that I would like for the planning board as this moves forward to take a close consideration, to take a look at that, see how they feel about it. Because that is a concern for me as it relates to the rooftop additions. I think something here that I really do like a lot, because we've seen this happen, is the modification to exterior finishes that is not related to the massing or to the size or to the layout. I do think we have seen in the past where there's such a high level of nitpicking that, they want to set back an applicant, send them back to a board over something simple like a different shade of the same color, a different specimen of tree. Simple things that we really shouldn't be setting an applicant back, 3 months, 4 months, going through going through a board process. But as it relates to increasing the allowable administrative additions in height, that is a part that I would like for the planning board to take an extra consideration in reviewing, because that is important.
How much height are we talking?
So right now, under the code, any rooftop addition would have to go to the DRB. This would allow for staff level of rooftop additions that do not exceed 35 feet above the existing roof. And depending upon the height of the building and what the height limit of the district is, that will largely dictate what you can do, because this does not allow you to exceed the maximum height set forth in the district.
Yeah, and Tom and Mr. Chair, if I could just maybe just reiterate, because not that we should be responding to people that just look to nitpick on anything on social media and stuff like that, but I can 100% guarantee how this will be construed by 1 p.m. Let's say the height, this allows zero additional height above what is already zoned and approved. This is just essentially seeking for staff approval if you are adding a rooftop addition within allowable height. So for instance, if the allowable height on Washington Avenue is 75 feet and you have, let's say, a bank or a hotel that is 75 feet and your next door neighbor is 30 feet, this property that is 30 feet as of right would be able to build another 35 feet here, and it would be approved administratively if they decided to go up to their maximum allowed and achieve that extra 40 or 45 feet, then that would have to go to the DRB. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
So I'm happy
Fine to have, as the vice chair said, planning board get a deeper look at this. Like I said, none of this was project specific or for anything in particular. These were just kind of some general guidelines that staff put together that I think all merit, further consideration.
Well, and I love this because it does modernize our process without compromising our principles and our character, because it still has robust staff review. So, we do need to streamline the bureaucracy. That is very clear. So, this still has to go to the planning board. There are professionals, there are attorneys, residents there who should be chiming in on this policy. I'm happy to make a motion to transmit it to the planning board.
A second.
As drafted. And I would just love their feedback on that specific line, just to have the benefit of professional input from our board on that.
And Mr. Chairman, we have one caller via Zoom.
Okay, let's hear it.
And I would first ask the caller, could you state your name for the record?
Gotta go on mute.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Matthew Goltanoff, and I am on a family vacation. However, I was told by a concerned resident that my name was invoked during the topic of discussion. I just want to state for the record that there was an inquiry, and I was cleared of all wrongdoing. Any sort of allegation made today is clearly wrong, and I should note that the person that may have made the allegation is currently the subject of multiple lawsuits in his official and individual capacity for targeting private residents and those that wish to volunteer to make our city better. Just want to say it again, it's extremely disrespectful to be called out in this sort of manner. Thank you.
And for the record, I'm being sued by anti-Jewish groups for standing up for the right of Israel to exist and Jewish people to live freely in Miami Beach, along with Commissioner Bott and our Mayor Minor. So with that, with acclamation, can we have this move?
Yes, and Tom, this was a referral only to land use, right? It would
No,
require.
this was a dual referral.
It was a dual
So
referral.
we can take it directly to the planning board with the recommendation that the planning board provide additional feedback and analysis regarding the proposed height of rooftop additions.
And I just want to thank Commissioner Magazine because, it's not easy to look at bureaucracy and say, how do we make the government work better for people, for businesses, for residents, so that they just don't get tangled up in the red tape that they often get tangled up in. So thank you, Commissioner Magazine, for your leadership in working very hard with staff on these very important improvements.
One team, one dream, my friends.
Commissioner Magazine, do you mind sticking around for a little bit if I call another item that you and Commissioner Fernandez is sponsoring?
Mr. Chair, if you're asking, how could I say no?
Okay.
And just further, I have to leave by 1 o'clock.
Okay. That's fine. And then I think we can discuss some North Beach issues with Commissioner Bott. So let's call item number 17.
Okay, item number 17 is presentation of the 41st Street Corridor Revitalization Project status and future direction.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, 41st Street is one of our main corridors. It's an important commercial and cultural area for our city, but we've seen it be stagnant for a while. The public areas need improvement so that we can support pedestrianism, so that we can support businesses, so we can support the quality of life of the residents in the area. We have a 41st Street project, capital improvement project that is going to be coming forward with significant opportunities for economic revitalization of Arthur Godfrey Road, public space improvements, cultural enhancements. And so our capital improvements office has been working on this because we do have significant general obligation dollars at play here. I think is close to $20 million or over $20 million. I think it's closer to $30 million. No, down? Okay. Nonetheless, I think it's important to hear where are we with this. Our businesses depend on this and our community. They have long been calling for the revitalization of 41st Street. So I'd like to, if I may, through the chair, recognize our capital improvements team to present on this.
Yes, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
Your mic is off. Oh, wow.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and the committee members. My name is Herman Fung, Senior Project Manager with CIP. We're pleased to present Jeff Cruz from Stantec and Isabella Pedroza from Brooks Scarpa Hoover to present the project today to you guys.
Thank you. Good morning. As mentioned, my name is Jeff Cruz from Stantec. I'm one of the sub-consultants on the project and here to bring you up to date on the project. Just as a reminder, the project is a redevelopment of 41st Street with the corridor being from Alton Road over to Pine Tree Drive. It's about a half mile of improvements altogether, about a mile of sidewalk improvements. Some of the challenges seen in the existing corridor, you can see in the pictures attached here is, some loose pavers, inappropriate landscaping, broken pavement, some of the damage along the side streets. The lighting in the issue has been somewhat iconic, but has some issues both on the ground level and broken and with the wrap of the trees, with some of the wiring that was likely intended to be temporary at the time, but has been there for too long. So, the intention was to come in with what the master planner was referring to as a kit of parts to, bring a continuity to the corridor with a design that sort of brings in some design elements that you get a sense of community throughout the entire corridor, and that's with the type and color of concrete, with some artistic units, with the elements that make it more pedestrian friendly, like the benches and the bike racks, and of course we want plenty of shade and nice landscaping, and there are some seating elements built into the project. With that, there are some photographs here, are renderings that sort of get a sense of what's being proposed. This is one of the artwork elements that's proposed as part of the corridor to bring in the sort of the South Beach feel to it. Very much a pedestrian-friendly environment. There is the piece of art that was mentioned earlier today.
Star Child. What do you call it? Sunshine?
Star Child.
Who called it Sunshine? Okay.
So among the challenges, one of the things that makes this project a challenge is that it's not actually a City of Miami Beach road. It belongs to DOT, so it is under their jurisdiction. The traffic lights and signage is under the jurisdiction of the county. So there are multiple avenues here that we have to navigate. In addition to belonging to DOT, it is a hurricane evacuation route and heavily used by the emergency services to access the hospital. So there's a lot of uses at play here. So some of the challenges that we've run up against in DOT, that this route has been in play for decades, and a lot of things have been put in that don't comply with proper conditions, and we're being asked to fix a lot of that stuff along the way. And, where we can, we are. Where we can't, we're needing to get variances from DOT, and that has been a long and arduous process to negotiate that.
Did we, sorry to cut you off. Did we keep the bulb outs on some of the side streets like Sheridan, Royal Palm?
The bulb outs, you're talking about actually at the corners? Yeah, we haven't adjusted any of the traffic laneage widths, so all the bulb outs are still there. There's some places where parking bulb outs were changed just to get some more space for the pedestrians, but the bulb outs, as they affect the parking, the traffic movement, are largely the same.
Okay.
So, one of the things that we're getting a design variation from DOT on is that some of the existing trees interfere with the required sight triangles, so that people coming in at intersections or coming out of driveways can see oncoming traffic. Where those conflicts exist, there's been an analysis to see if they've actually been the result of any accidents in the corridor, and where we have had any history of accidents, we were asked to remove those trees, but for the large part there weren't. So we've applied for variances to allow some of those to stay in place. A second variance that we've been looking at is there's a lot of ADA challenges through the job because this happens a lot with zero lot line type construction, where you've got the finished floor right up against the back of sidewalk. You don't have a lot of freedom to work with slopes between the wall of the buildings and the back of the curb. And without completely reconstructing the road, there's only so much we have control of those elements. We've managed to fix a great deal of them, but there are some that are just impossible to fix. So we've gone through a variance process to allow for some of those to either stay or to take a different approach. In some cases, the driveways don't meet the current way that DOT likes to see things done, what they call flares, where the driveway widens at the curb to allow easier turning in and out. The congestion within the corridor, in some cases where we implemented those requested flares, interfered with existing elements like trees or signs or some of those. So we've had to ask for variance on some of that. And finally, there are some places where the finished floors of the buildings are so low that we can't keep the curb where it needs to be without flowing water back towards the buildings. And so we've had to work with DOT to allow for some drainage to be put mid-sidewalk in order to allow for that to either have the curb up where DOT wants it, at an elevation where DOT wants it, or a variance that would allow for the curb to be substandard in height, which is what it is right now. So with that, where we're at right now is we've been going back and forth with DOT about how to solve some of these problems, or to the degree that they can't be solved, that we can get variances for them. We are working towards what's anticipate what we're calling 100% submittal in the not too distant future, so that we can hopefully get approvals and get the project out to bid. And with that, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez and Commissioner Vaughn.
All right, so what are the remaining critical paths between now and breaking ground in July of this year?
We are preparing the invitation to bid package that should be published in the next 30 days, so that we can hire the contractor and begin construction this summer.
Do we feel comfortable committing to start construction in that window of July, in that July 2026, this summer?
It depends really on when the commission awards the contract. We have the 45-day bid period, then the preparation, and the award. So April, May, June, July-ish, it should be awarded, and then we've got to do the pre-construction stuff. So actual construction activities will be this summer, but it'll probably be late this summer.
Late this summer, okay. And I think that's important for messaging to the businesses so that they know what to expect. for their business. One of the things that we've been doing that has worked very well with the West Avenue Neighborhood Improvement Project. We've been having bi-weekly Zooms and then bi-weekly on-the-ground meetings because of the amount of people impacted by the work. In this case, it would be businesses. Could we incorporate those regular updates as part of this project, having a bi-weekly meeting with the interested stakeholders from the corridor on Zoom to tell them, hey, this is what you can expect for this week, this is what you can expect for next week, what's happening now that we need to change for you so that we can improve conditions for you?
Absolutely, Commissioner. You mentioned the biweekly walkthroughs with the residents in West Avenue, and I think that's a valuable lesson learned for our department and others in the city, where that level of communication, one of the things I've noticed is it doesn't matter how much we explain things. If the residents don't actually see what we're talking about, it doesn't really register. So I think those walkthroughs are invaluable.
Sure.
And we will definitely incorporate those here.
One of the things that the plan that has to happen for the plan to move forward is inevitably the removal of some on-street parking. To widen the sidewalks, which is good. We want wider sidewalks. There is a lot of pedestrianism on that road, but the businesses in that area also do depend on the parking. So, how can we absorb that net loss of parking in the area?
The total parking loss is 8 spaces on the corridor. And I don't know that there's a way to mitigate that within the corridor. There are some, as you know, some city-owned parking lots that are adjacent, that are right behind, or just to the north of 41st Street that obviously can pick up those spaces.
There's 8,
That's it?
8 total spaces are
Out of
being
how
lost.
many?
There's 54 existing, we're losing 8 of them.
And is that because we're recouping in other places, or is this through because at some point, there was a much more significant parking loss?
We've done, through narrowing our design options, we've cut that back. A lot of that had to do with some of the original concepts that included much wider mid-block crossings, which DOT did not allow us to do, so we had to cut that back, and that picked up some of the spaces.
Okay. We passed legislation at the last city commission meeting regarding wayfinding for businesses and garages during the construction phase. Who is taking the lead on that? Is that our communications department? Is that CIP? Who is going to be taking the lead on?
That'll be CIP with communications in very close coordination with both the Blue Ribbon Committee as well as the 41st Street bid.
Okay. All right, and, one of the most important things is also, pedestrianism and the safety of pedestrians in this corridor. That I would say is the top priority. How does this design improve nighttime safety and visibility for pedestrians? And again, realizing this is a heavily Jewish neighborhood, Orthodox Jewish residents that live in this area. They walk on Shabbos, they walk after dinner on Friday nights and after attending services. And so ensuring the safety, nighttime safety of our residents in this area is important everywhere, but especially here. So how does this design improve nighttime safety?
You mean during construction or after we're done?
Both phases.
Okay, during construction, we've spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out the best way to construct it, and that won't be finalized until we have a contractor on board. Right now, the proposal is we're gonna be working on one block at a time, one side at a time. What that allows us to do is utilize either the parking lane or one of the travel lanes for pedestrian access while we work on the sidewalks. So we'll separate the pedestrians from traffic so that there is constant access to all of the businesses as well as the ability to travel east-west on the sidewalks. And we'll do that, again, one block at a time, one side at a time. And we've been coordinating that with DOT and our emergency services and our design team to get that incorporated into the bid set. As far as the final condition and improvements to safety, I'll let Jeff address that.
Well, as far as design elements into the project, probably the biggest thing is the lighting improvements that are part of the base scope, that the lighting will be all brand new for the project. And that's over and above the Cobra head lighting that is traditional as part of the roadway. That is staying in place, but the pedestrian lighting has been upgraded, the regular pole-mounted poles. All of the ramps in the area have been upgraded for ADA purposes so that the ramps are, properly aligned with the crosswalks. There are some of the sidewalk furniture is placed in such a way that creates a separation from pedestrians and the roadway so that there's, a separator between them and the moving vehicles. Keeping the parking in place also helps in that regard so that, there's a static car in between a moving car and the pedestrian elements. Largely those are probably the elements that are having the best impact.
And those furnitures that you're putting there in the built environment, can those function as bollards to protect pedestrians, to protect businesses?
They will function as bollards.
Okay. Has this plan been reviewed, the design by the police departments?
Yes.
Yes, we've been in coordination with both the police department and the fire department. That coordination obviously is ongoing. We continue to work with them throughout the construction process.
They've been involved because part of the scope is also they're putting in license plate reader cameras as well.
And I was going to ask you about that because one of the items that Commissioner Bond, hopefully you'll touch on, is your blue lights, which you had an item about that on the agenda, and I thought was great. So I'm going to pass it off to you.
The blue lights has not come before the commission yet, so we can't move forward with it yet, but please keep in mind that that is something that I really want to see on 41st Street, precisely because we have people who can't use their cell phones for a day and a half at least in this neighborhood, and we want to make sure that they have options for security. So you might want to take a look when you're talking to police or have a chat with them about where they would be installed before you get too far, because it's easy to not install them if unfortunately it doesn't pass, but presuming it will pass, I don't want this to be an add-on after the fact fix. Another couple of thoughts I have about this, as we are encouraging people to embrace micromobility, bikes are still allowed on sidewalks and will remain allowed on sidewalks. So I just want to make sure that these beautiful little plazas with furniture and pergolas. Also, there's a clear shot so that people who are just traversing the blocks don't have to navigate poles and furniture and things like that, because that makes it unsafe for everybody.
Yeah, the clear passage width is as much as we can get through most of the corridor. There are some pinch points that are just inherent in the elements that are already there that we can't get by, and that's one of the variances actually that we're getting from DOT, because they want a minimum of 8 feet, but will allow down to 6. There are a few places that are narrower than 6, but it's just we haven't been able to get.
Well, 6 is already much better than what we have in a lot of residential neighborhoods, so we'll take 6. This rendering here of this plaza, I will tell you that in North Beach, when they took away, it was Commissioner Ariola's initiative, and it's been a huge success when the handful of parking spots were eliminated at the Normandy Plaza, and it was pedestrianized. It has become a site of very intense activation in the best possible way. It's at least once a week, often more than that, almost every single week of the year. And now we are finding that what needs to be there is increased shade. So right now, it doesn't look like there's any new shade structures. If there's a way to take another look just at this particular plaza and see if there's an opportunity to increase trees, shade trees here as an option. I mean, the more green, the better for the city as a whole. If trees don't work for whatever reason, incorporating some of these additional pergolas where you have porous shade, but there's something, because it could become another spot of community activation, which has really been incredibly beneficial to North Beach. and there's no reason why Mid-Beach shouldn't have the same opportunity. I mean, this was my main thoroughfare for 13 years here, so I'm thrilled to see this finally come to pass. I will also say, what was the last thing I was going to say about this? I'm very happy to hear that you're doing a block at a time, alternate streets, alternate sides at a time. I will tell you that the bridge, the 41st Street Bridge, which is currently being done by FDOT, they did not do a great job of securing the machinery and sort of keeping that closed off, so pedestrians were walking in the oncoming traffic as opposed to going across the street. It got a little bit nasty between some residents from the Mid-Beach Neighborhood Association and FDOT. We, the city, finally had to intercede. I worked with MBNA and John Norris, and we got FDOT to really secure that properly. So now, I mean, there's still some knuckleheads who will walk into oncoming traffic. You can't fix stupid. But the point in raising this is when you are blocking off the streets or the segment of the street, please make sure it is really secure. And that it's not sort of half-assed, because it's going to have unfortunate consequences. And the last thing I will say is, and nobody wants to delay this, but remember that September and October, there are a lot of holidays, so there will be a lot of people out and about walking in that neighborhood. It's a pretty serious time of year for Jewish holidays. And then we go into Art Basel, and traffic is going to be a major concern. So I would say as much as you can get done before that, and then maybe again in November, and then pause for, until after Art Basel.
Our MOT plan calls for removal of MOT during high-impact weekends and special events.
And religious holidays, because, again, that's
I think we should make a motion on that. Commissioner Bond, thank you for bringing it up. I remember when I worked with Commissioner Whitehorn, that it was one of the things she always championed was making sure that our construction projects were stopped during the high holidays, so that our residents who are walking around the area are not impacted by the construction. So I think it's something that we should take into consideration.
Yeah, so I'd make that motion for the High Holy Days and Art Basel.
And the other thing I would also mention is that, we're looking at this now, this revitalization of 41st Street that has long been delayed, but is finally going to be coming to fruition. And hopefully, what it does is that it brings 41st Street back to life. That is the purpose of this revitalization, economic revitalization. And when that happens, there's I can foresee it as if I had a crystal ball. There's going to be a demand for parking. And I think we need to get ahead of that now. Madam Manager and Mr. Director, I think we need to be thinking, what are the opportunities around this corridor where we can increase our parking supply? Because I think at the end of the day, once this is completed, businesses are going to want to come into this corridor. Property owners are going to be improving their property, and what that's going to just attract people to support these businesses. And there's going to be a demand for parking. And I think we need to get ahead of that, and we need to start planning for that. How do we look at increasing the parking inventory in this area?
So, to that point, if I could make a suggestion that we first do a survey of what's available.
Yeah,
because we have parking lots all along 42nd Street and behind a lot of the.
We have a lot of parking.
And behind the northern side, we have a bunch of parking lots, and we have an interior parking garage. So can we first do a survey of what we have to make sure that, because maybe we don't have enough, and that's a very real question, but maybe we have a lot that is currently underutilized because it's hard to park there, because it doesn't charge resident rates, or because it's, whatever, it's gated off. So
I think today, under today's conditions, you have a situation where you don't necessarily see the most flourishing environment. I think the idea is to, plan ahead and say, okay, once we revitalize this, once this becomes a destination, because it will become a destination, businesses will want to come here. Well, then how do we accommodate for that added traffic that could potentially come. But I think you're right. I think
Like, we just need to know what we have, and then we can figure out
Exactly.
how to solve going forward.
Yep. I mean, just looking on the map, we have a huge parking lot 63, and then we have an indoor group, a shaded parking garage. I think it's like 3 stories. That's or 4.
And then
on the
also
north side.
the new building that's being built, have they built excess parking? I mean, that's what's happened up in North Beach. Some of the buildings are building more parking spots than they need for their residents.
And there's also
So-
a bunch of surface lot parking along 40th Street as well on the south side. So, yeah, let's find out how much we have before, we mandate more parking.
I need to excuse myself.
Excused.
Yes.
Do you
Thank
want to
you.
move this item?
Yeah, with the proposals that we put forward, the bi-weekly Zooms, the bi-weekly walkthroughs, I would love to continue to do in this project. What Commissioner Bod mentioned about the blue lights and the holidays, the religious holidays. And, I think we should be, just from a planning perspective, thinking what will be our parking needs in the future. So I'm happy to move this item.
A second.
And Commissioner Bott, you had a comment also about shade trees?
And
is
shade
that right?
trees,
And shade
yes.
trees.
Or structures, whatever we.
So this item will be concluded from the land use agenda, and then you'll just implement the recommendations?
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Bott, do you want to talk West Lots? Or do you want to?
Sure.
Okay. So, Tom, if we can call items 14 and 5, because they seem pretty similar.
Okay. Item number 5 is discuss developing all of the west lots lying along Collins Avenue between 79th Street and 87th Street into a planned city park in North Beach. And item number 14 is discuss the future programming of the west lots.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sick. But, okay, thank you, Tom. So this is, we've been dancing around this for years about what to do with West Lots. I think universally the goal is to not let them get developed. Nobody wants to see a high-rise there, even if it's for affordable housing. The idea is to really protect that green space. And over the last year and a half, we've had initiatives that have come to the commission that have been passed to activate it with a monthly family day, which is very well attended and fun and cool. We're talking about electrifying it so that we can have activations there more easily. We're talking about doing a bike boulevard around the back side of the West Lots. We're talking about how to make them more usable in their entirety. And I think we should just rip the Band-Aid off and take a look at the aggregate of the 7 or 8 lots that we have, including those which have functional purposes right now. Look at the parking that exists there and look at the cross streets that exist there and say, okay, with this entirety, how do we minimize the unpleasant impacts of the necessary services? How do we make them more attractive? How do we make them more, ergonomically fit them into, not ergonomically, but aesthetically fit them into the space better? And how do we look at the entirety to make it more usable? We do not need cross streets at every juncture. Those are almost never utilized. And if we have 2 or 3 instead of, 6 or 7, people can get through to Collins just as easily. A lot of that parking is not used during the week. It's used mostly for weekend beach access. We are going to have a lot of parking coming online with the 72nd Street complex, with the Deauville. We can run shuttles on the weekend if we need to. There's also another beach right up the street from us, Hallover, with massive parking lots. So how do we look at this? And, when the transformation from the Bayshore Par 3 to the Bayshore Park is spectacular. And the first activism I was involved with was when I was on the Bayshore HOA, and it was a 30-year fight to get that land to be properly moved forward into the park that had been envisioned. And so I'm not suggesting something at that scale, but I am suggesting taking that mindset to these properties and imagining what we could do if there were very few restrictions. The things that Commissioner Suarez has identified in his item where we poll the residents, and we know from talking to them at these events that there is interest in doing or very compatible with a mostly passive park. And I would like to start this conversation. You know, we've got $5 million in the GO bonds to start this process. We do not need to build it this year. We need to evaluate and propose a design. And I think we can figure this out. The CRA has funds that could cover part of this as well. I don't anticipate this being a $30 million park like Bayshore was, or whatever the final number was. It was probably higher than that. But I do think we can do better for our North Shore residents than what we have now. They're underutilized. They're not particularly attractive. There's a lot of gravel. Let's keep the stuff that's working. Let's expand the skate park. You know, let's keep what we need to have in there, but let's make it a really beautiful amenity that kind of is a counterpoint and flows into the very different kind of park that's across the street.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, for years, you know, we kind of just drive by there and see, like, you know, what is this, right? Like, it has so much potential. I'm going to be against, obviously, any sort of development on there, but I certainly don't want to be just a replica of the park across the street.
No, I don't either.
I think we discussed, and I don't know where we are in this, but having a real soccer field on one of the lots, a standard
The soccer fields the lots are too small.
But we talked about possibly
Like having
removing some of the.
micro soccer fields.
I think what we also discussed was possibly, maybe, I think there was, which lot is it? I think it's on 85th, where there's sort of parking that encroaches on the backside. And if we can make it just a little bit wider, it would be able to fit. Do you remember that discussion?
I do. I have some images that may not be necessary for this conversation, where we did take a look at some things we spoke about several months ago, if you'd like me to bring them up on the screen.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, please.
And as we go through these, you know, we took the mindset of, we have such a beautiful open space park across the street. So when we were looking at it, we were looking at more active. It doesn't have to be active, but we were looking at some active options. So, you know, the west lots that you're speaking of, for those folks who don't know, there's 8 individual lots. It's difficult to read, but that identifies what's there. You know, there's some parking, there's Ocean Rescue, the old log cabin site, the skate park. We have a composting site and parking. And then, so there's only one lot right now that is part of the Parks Department inventory, and that is the lot at 82nd Street, where the existing skate park is, and where there's a future proposed GOB skate park or pump track expansion. And there's a little picture what that could look like when it's done. The pump track would be to the right. And there's a visual for those who don't know what a pump track is. That's
John, a pump track is?
They call it pump track or an all-wheels track,
Okay.
because it's like what they have a small one at Haulover.
Yeah.
It's where you could take your scooter,
Your skateboard, all that, yeah.
your children's bicycle. It's not just for skating. Or, and I know this is GOP, but we were told, you know, it just looked like there's no rules. If they wanted to rethink the skate park, could go with pickleball. Pickleball is hot, 6 courts would fit on that. That's second half of the lot.
But so why are you only limited to one lot?
I'm gonna continue to go. What I'm saying, right now is there's 8 lots. 1 lot is under the Parks and Recreation inventory. The rest are just government city lots.
So it can expand to the 8 lots, but currently, this is what they have access to.
Right, but it just, okay. I just
They're all
want to
city
make
lots.
Yeah, if we want to, so location 1, is this still where the
Second half of the
possibility of
skate
where
park.
that skate park would be? Yeah, because I'd love to expand that skate park and have that pump track, and then also have the pickleball courts
I'm gonna
probably on
continue
another lot.
Yep, I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
So then up on 85th Street, we're going off the survey. No, but not just have open space, but have activation space. So maybe a farmer's market, something
So
like
if,
that.
I want to just update you on this because this is an item that hasn't been called yet in neighborhoods, but we have a very amazing farmer's market that is going to be proposed, that is going to be in the park across the street. It's going to be transformative. So that is a spot now, 85th Street, that can be used for something that's not a farmer's market.
Yes, thank you for that. Another thing, we could also fit some courts. You see, we're looking at, because of the width, and maybe you have that alley there and there's parking. I guess we can close it or do something there, move utility lines, but we stayed within the confines of the lot when we were looking at it. And as Commissioner Bott had mentioned, it's just not wide enough. Even if we close a street, it's not wide enough to put a regulation soccer field. So it's going to fit small courts and micro soccer fields, which I'm going to get to. Then at 86th Street, and then you can see now we start to implement some small soccer fields potentially. We didn't move any large trees in anything that we did, so we worked around any of the mature canopy. Pickleball, paddle, micro soccer. Now we looked at met with planning and discussed which streets could make more sense if we were to close them and expand lots. This is a quick layover. We're still contemplating the farmer's market, but now we can encroach more. So now you could start getting 4, 6 of these micro soccer fields, which are, the 3-on-3 game and the 5-on-5 game is a lot of fun, and the people learn a lot of skills in that type of game. Combining the lots again, this is with Padel. And then for those who maybe haven't seen a pickleball court, just want to give an example of a pickleball court and a paddle court. So that's what we went through quickly.
Okay.
So-
I think it would be, I don't know. Like I think I like pickleball and paddle, but I think North Beach really deserves a full-size soccer field if we can somehow make it work. I mean, the demographics there, clearly, they want a soccer field. Even in North Bay Village, they're having like a soccer camp or a program. I don't know. I think it'd be the wrong message if we just put a bunch of padel courts there or pickleball courts when we couldn't find the way to make a full-size soccer field. I mean, what can we do to really have a full-size soccer? Because I think the residents would love that there. The kids there.
They'll love it. We only have one in the city, and that's because of the space that we have. We'll measure it again, but keep in mind, you not only need the width of the field, then you have your buffer, your buffer site. You get fencing. Now you're on Collins, so now you're going to need netting. It's a tight space for a regulation field.
If I may, what I would like to see with this item is I would like to, and I understand and I appreciate your bringing visuals, taking sort of pieces of what we have. My goal for this would be to have a unified, comprehensive, holistic approach to this. And I would actually like to engage Savino Miller. They've done incredible work in the city. They really have a passion for making excellent public spaces. And I'd like to work with them and have an idea of how do we find the right balance between activating, finding potentially a soccer field space, and maybe that means that we, when we close a street, maybe we also close an alley behind, and maybe we are able to, it might not be regulation because you don't have the buffer, but at least the court, it'd be bigger than the soccer field that we have on Normandy, right, which doesn't.
U12, so there's different size fields.
Right, so I think the direction is clear. That is an idea. I'm leery of putting too many man-made surfaces on this court. I don't want to lose, on this 8 blocks, I don't want to lose all of the green space that's there. So that's why I want to have a holistic approach to this. Here is what we can do in its entirety. Here's the number of streets we're closing. Here's where we can claw back a little bit of the alleys to the west to make it a little bit wider. Here's some things we could do. And look at this as a complete holistic approach to programming this, and also creating, like for instance, Bayshore is programmed. There's a playground, there's a ping pong table, there's a running path, a running and walking path, a biking path, there's there are the tennis courts in there, and they strike a balance between having some activations and facilities with having also this really beautiful passive park. So I want to bring that kind of level of thoughtfulness to it. I also am very mindful that there are a lot of residents who back up directly onto the west lots. And so I don't want to have people playing pickleball until 11 o'clock at night or even 10 o'clock at night. And padel sounds carry. They're different from pickleball sounds. So we have to be mindful about where we place the active parts of this, so that you're not in your own apartment listening to people playing at all hours of day and night. And I totally understand that if you build a pickleball court, they will come and they will stay until you kick them off. So, you know, I want this to be like a really comprehensive, holistic undertaking.
Yep, you're asking for a park master plan.
Yes.
We're like inching towards that. We did this exercise and now we may receive
And
direction
I
to
just
go
don't want to
further.
inch towards it anymore. I just want to move forward. Like, let's get going. Let's have the stakeholders in the room. Let's get people who have been proven champions to look at this with us and come up with the plan that we can then take back to the community.
So, what is this for a regulatory soccer field? What is the width and length that you need?
Oh my God, I'd have to search it up to put it on the record.
'Cause, you know, I'm looking at the-
It's larger than a football field, slightly.
Because I'm looking at the lot on between 86th and 87th, and that would probably be a perfect lot for a soccer field, because you have Stella Marie, those seniors would love to go just watch football, watch the kids play football at that lot.
Well, if a senior soccer league that's really,
Yeah,
or a soccer
exactly.
program that's,
Yeah.
so let's put that into the pot
So,
and figure out how
yeah,
we can do it.
as big as possible.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I agree, we do need a holistic approach on this, and, you know, I also agree with you that, you know, we want to keep the green space, which is why I like a soccer field, because it stays green. Padel courts and pickleball courts don't necessarily, I mean, you're just adding concrete to the floor. Okay, so I guess, how do we shore this up with, because it's both items are the same. Do you want to just work on this together, Commissioner?
Sure, let's just fold them in together. And so can we move this to get a comprehensive master plan? And how do we, if we want to have Savino Miller brainstorm with us, doesn't necessarily mean that they would be the people to build it. But is that a thing that we can do, to contract with them to come up with a master plan?
I mean, I think engaging with them directly would probably require a waiver of competitive bidding. I think the consensus.
She's just asking if we can talk to them.
Yeah,
Not necessarily
yeah,
put them on payroll.
The administration could talk to them. The consensus is definitely to move forward with a park master plan the way that John laid out. And then do you want to kind of give flexibility to the administration to reach out to Savino Miller, but also look at what procurement options there would be?
And I would also like to look at the possibility of doing a waiver for them. I mean, they are,
You know, Commissioner Bott, how about, you know, if we're gonna sort of be together on this, how about we do a town hall also? And then we can have Sabina Miller also present after we meet with them.
So I would like to do a town hall once we have something to show the community.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to engage with somebody who can put together a master plan first. Because we have the feedback from the community. We've had 2 different community meetings and multiple conversations at the events. So I think for sure do a community meeting.
So are we allowed to engage with this design firm, just as a advisory role?
I would suggest that staff reach out to them first, and then the administration can report back. But I think that would be the first step.
Could we also be present?
Sure.
Have to be a
I
central
mean, I don't see why not. It's
So the next land use meeting is when, next week?
There is a meeting scheduled for April 1st, which is a week from tomorrow. I don't know if you're going to have any updates by next Wednesday.
I mean, could
And-
you put in an initial phone call to Savino Miller and see what they say? I mean, I've talked to, they're friends of mine, they're neighbors from, you know, I've known them for 20 years, and I mentioned this to them, and because they have been so incredibly foresighted in the vision they had for the Bay Shore Park. And so, you know, like, how do you harness that? How do you bring that in to the conversation? Not necessarily that they would be the ones to do it, but to
So let's see if they're
come up
available.
with a vision.
Let's see if they're available a week from tomorrow. It seems like it sounds like they're eager to get.
Yeah. It's
Well,
both
they're certainly
CIP
open
and
to a
Parks.
conversation.
We have a great relationship with both of them.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
can reach
so
out.
hopefully they can,
So the intent would be to come back with them to further have a second discussion
I
about
think it's just a discussion.
a discussion.
Yeah, just.
That's where we're at.
Nothing,
And, you know, maybe between now and
official.
then, there's a little further work on which streets we can close, and can we actually take over the alley behind, on the west side of the west lots, and, you know, so that there's a little bit more practical information.
I do have some information on streets after Tom and I spoke a while back. I did not look at the alley, but I can take a look.
I even think some of those alleys that there's parking aren't supposed to be parking, right? Like, I don't know, our parking director is not here, but it's like gravel, and
Yeah.
they've kept it that way because it's sort of in this gray area, so, maybe you could talk to John.
Will.
Or Will, sorry.
Yeah, I'll speak
These
with
two
Will.
guys.
I know, not to be a downer after such an exciting conversation, but I do have, and I think we do have concerns of what do we do for temporary parking when 72nd Street closed down?
Okay, so the direction is to engage with the designers, just to come here for a discussion, and you guys will reach out.
Yeah,
And-
Mr. Chair, can I just say something? Savino Miller is on the city's rotational list as a vendor for landscaping.
Perfect.
So does that,
So that means we can engage with them
perfect.
Okay, problem solved.
without a bid waiver.
Okay, let's get it going.
No, we had one caller on Zoom, but
Sure.
not anymore.
Let's hear it.
I think the hand is down, sorry.
Okay, so, I'm happy to move this along with you, Commissioner Bach.
So we're gonna combine the two items into,
And we'll bring this back next Wednesday for further discussion.
Great. Before we end off, Greg, I don't know if you wanted to say something, public comment, I promised them I'd let him, speak. You got 2 minutes, man.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to speak. So it's very nice, you're going to do all that with the parks, but I really must bring attention to a massive problem that's really getting zero attention, and that is the drinking water in Miami Beach, which comes from Miami-Dade, literally comes from a Superfund site, which is the airport. If I could have all of your attention, please, this is really important.
I'm absolutely.
It's a cancer-causing chemical for everybody, especially children. This is getting basically zero attention. I brought it up before. It seems like nothing's going to be done about it, so I met with the head of Public Works and the head sustainability person here. They generally have no interest in doing anything. Their excuse is that they're compliant with the EPA, and the EPA gives them 5 years to come into compliance with this chemical called PFAS. What the EPA does not tell them to do is advertise the water in the water quality report as safe and excellent. So the level that the EPA says is safe is 0.04 parts per trillion. That's like a standard for contamination. And the level that's going to become enforceable in 2029 is 4 parts per trillion. That's like the detection limit. And that may change, whatever. The level that we're serving to kids and telling their parents that the water is safe and excellent is 30 parts per trillion. So that's over 1,000 times what the EPA says is safe, and is more than 7 times what will be the enforceable detection limit in 2029. Again, they say that we're compliant with the EPA. Fine, you know what? You are in those levels. But the EPA is not telling you to tell parents and kids that the water is safe and excellent, and it literally says that in the water report. This is a cancer-causing chemical, guys. My background is as an environmental lawyer that specializes in this. Nick, I don't think you guys have environmental lawyers on your staff. If I could just have 1 more minute.
Sure.
I've also spoken with the mayor of Miami-Dade about this. Generally, same response. We're compliant with the EPA. Fine, you have a few more years, but they're not telling you to advertise it as safe and excellent. Literally, like, this is a cancer-causing chemical that's 1,000 times the level the EPA says is safe. And if it was safe and excellent, why is Miami-Dade suing 3M for $200 million? This is the third biggest settlement after cigarettes and opioids in the history of the United States, this chemical. I highly advise you guys like really get up to date on this.
So where is, Greg, where, you said the EPA is going to change its threshold in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so that started under the Biden administration, 2023, 2024, and it used to be 70 parts per trillion, and then after more research analysis, it basically went down to 4, but you can't make every water district in the country liable for serving water at these levels. But what you can do is not advertise that it's safe and excellent, and all this money that we're going to spend on parks, we should be at the very least utilizing established filtration technologies like reverse osmosis, ion exchange in schools, like Miami Beach Senior High School. Like, we all remember going to school and drinking water out of the water fountain. It was probably pretty stupid for all of us to do, but now we know, and we shouldn't allow these kids to do it. We know, right? So we're knowingly serving these kids cancer-causing water that we're advertising to them as safe and excellent, while at the same time suing 3M for $200 million, while at the same time the EPA says these levels are 1,000 times. So the people in charge of the water, I'm sorry, I met with them, I was very respectful, I can't anymore. They're really, they don't got it.
So, this, as you know, we don't control the water, right?
But what we can control is filtration. This filtration will take out 99% of it, and it's established. You could go on Amazon right now and buy a simple reverse osmosis filter for your home for like a few $100. You're good to go. So we should be doing this at the schools.
At a local level, at a government level, there's only so much we can do. So and what you're saying is just don't advertise that it's safe?
The public should be warned that this is not safe. You're literally in water reports dating back since at least 2019, you're calling it safe and excellent. And I have in email now, very stupidly, they did this. They wrote, we knew since 2019.
But if we have federal and state and county regulatory officials saying that the water is safe.
It is not. Their EPA is saying it's not safe. It's cancer causing. They're not saying it's safe. They're saying you have 5 years to come into compliance.
Okay, so how about we make an item? I don't know, Commissioner Bott, how you feel about this, but maybe we make an item just to have a longer discussion on this, and then we can bring in our Public Works Director with our city attorney, and we can have a discussion in the sunshine about this.
I've done this extensively throughout the country, and they all want to deflect liability because they're going to be the single individual. You're giving cancer to kids. They're going to just deflect all the way through. They're not going to admit to anything. This is how they do it. Because they don't.
At least we'll have a discussion about it and have some sort of resolution.
But why not implement filtration immediately in the schools?
Because we don't control anything about the schools. The school board in Miami-Dade County is like its own kingdom. And let me tell you, it's pretty frustrating. When we tried to protect a building that was falling down, we couldn't enforce the rules that apply to any other building in the city because they have their own laws. When we tried to get access to fix a broken pipe, we had to negotiate all kinds of things because they have their own laws. So I'm glad you're elevating this issue. I think the first step is for us to have our staff educate us on what they're seeing, what they're hearing. You might know about this, but we don't. So if we're going to try to make a difference, we have to get educated.
Right,
so
but the staff is not, they're deflecting.
Let me finish. So let us inform ourselves. Let us task them with finding out what other municipalities are doing that are in a similar situation, because I guarantee you we're not the only city. Let's find out what the county has planned besides suing. Let's gather some information, then we can have an informed discussion.
I can tell you everything. I've been doing this
Greg, but what we're saying,
well over a year.
Greg, unfortunately, look, we're bound by processes. As
I know, but let me just
and as government agencies. So I'm willing to hear you out.
Yeah.
We want to hear it, but it's not just something you're telling us. It's something that the public as a whole needs to hear.
Yeah.
And so we want to have a formal process where you speak, our city staff speaks, and they also give us a download on information of what they want to hear. Now, I understand you may be very skeptical of that. Fine. I was always skeptical of staff. I still am. So let's just take it on. I'm not trying to shut you down. I'm actually opening up more dialogue.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm actually opening up more dialogue. I didn't have to let you speak today.
Thank you.
And I'm willing to even make this a discussion item that we can discuss here.
Just the final point to outline how outrageous it is. So the groundwater flows, again, I'm not like a crazy person from the street. I'm an environmental lawyer that has significant background in PFAS chemicals for like over a decade now. I've helped negotiate multi-million dollars of settlements involved with $13 billion litigation, multi-district litigation. Like, this is not a small thing. The groundwater in Miami flows from west to east. What happened was U.S. military mandated this white firefighting foam to be used at all the airports. And 3M, the reason why there's a $13 billion settlement is because they were caught telling the airports to dispose of the firefighting foam down the sewer, which then leaked into the water supply. Because the water moves west to east, all of the groundwater wells from the airport west to east, are contaminated. The water flows in from the airport down Miami River into Biscayne Bay and the Miami Aquifer 24/7, 365. So it's also like the bay, that's a mess as well. That's why you can't go swimming there, one of the main reasons. The wells to the west of the airport, the northwest well field, is basically almost pristine. These wells should be shut down. We shouldn't be serving water to kids from a Superfund site where they use these chemicals. We should be going west, as they do in New York.
Greg, if I may, it sounds like you're very well informed. If you have materials that you would like us to incorporate into this education process, please send them our way. I would also encourage you to reach out to Joe Geller, who is our Miami Beach representative on the school board, and have a conversation with him as well, and bring him up to speed. There is a process. We can't just wave our magic wand and fund reverse osmosis filtration systems for everybody. That would be lovely. But if there is a lawsuit going on, maybe that's one of the conditions. Maybe, obviously, cleaning up the Superfund site. I mean, given the state of the federal government now, where, clean air and water seems to be, a nice to have, not a need to have. These are the times we're living in. So let us do this in an informed, measured way. We'll get the information, we'll get staff on board, we'll see what other municipalities are doing. If you've been part of lawsuits and they've been successful, send that information to us.
Okay, and the last thing that we can do is just not advertise it as safe and excellent. Very simple, right?
I don't know if that's a thing that we do from Miami Beach or if it's done.
Yeah, Miami Beach Water Quality Report.
No, I know the report, but I don't know if it's generated by the county and we just slap if it's white labeled, I don't know, but we can look into that as well. So
Okay,
we'll have all these conversations, but
Thank you,
we have
Greg.
to start.
We'll
Appreciate
continue
it.
this.
We'll be in touch.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.